Alright, I hadn't done a little talkie video in a while, so I obviously not weather suitable for fishing, so I come out here and do a little quick video, just go over a couple of things, anyway, get that done. First thing I was going to do is go over a couple of setups. This is my new swim bait rod I got last year. They had these, some guy had them on eBay. I had been looking at these rods and I had almost bought one for like $150, $160. And some guy had these things marked down to like $85 or something like that. And I'm like, you got it is Compre, basically the same rod I've been using for my big swim baits and stuff, but had them marked down like $85. So I basically got the rod to my house for 90 bucks. It's a Shimano Compre, which is Compre is what I've been using. But this one will handle up to an 8-ounce lure. It's 8 feet long. Anyway, I bought one. I was impressed with it as soon as I took it out of the container. But then I got it to the lake and used it some, and I fell in love with it and turned right around and bought another one. So I caught some fish on them this year on King Kong. I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. But the guy that had them for that low price, they're all gone, and now you can get this same rod, but it's about $150, $160, which is still a pretty good deal. But it's a Compre, 8-foot. The model number is CPC MTR8OHJ. 8 feet long. Call it a power, heavy power, moderate action. It'll handle from a 1 ounce to an 8-ounce lure. So anybody in the market for an inexpensive swim bait rod, I like it. Of course, I've got it paired with my old trusty 5500C. And I have tried, or I am trying, the new P-line, they call it Endurex No Fade Braid. It won't fade like the previous stuff, they're like Power Pro will. Because I got just really tired of every so often having to take a magic marker and color up my faded Power Pro that had turned almost from green to white. Like I said, I was so impressed with that rod that I bought another one, and I'm using it to throw the 4.7 ounce monster shad from Hester Fishing. Handles it great. Lure weighs right at 5 ounces. Not a problem for the rod at all. And again, paired with an old 5500C made back in the late 70s, early 80s. Best swim bait rod you can get your hands on. And speaking of Hester Fishing, they came out with these. Oh, they're called a shad, some kind of shad. No, trout. But 6.5 inches long, weighs about 1.25 ounces. I put my little touches on them, a red hook, put a little blast of glitter paint on them, red around the gills. Haven't got to try them out yet, just got them the other day, but I'm really impressed with them. They were like 15 bucks a piece, something like that. They come from Poland. All right, now another setup. I do own spinning tackle. This is a Shimano. Golly, all the paint's gone off of it. It's a 2000 series, a Solstice. About a $40, $50 reel. This rod, I gave about 40 bucks for it about 20 years ago. It was a 2-piece rod, a little Shakespeare rod. I glued it together so it won't come apart. This has been one of the best darn little rods I've ever owned. I whipped 20 and 25 pound catfish on this thing. 10-pound P-line floor clear on it. This is a little Texas rig, little 1/4 ounce tungsten sinker, little EWG Yamakatsu hook, a little red bead. Again, I haven't caught a fish on a worm in a couple, 3 years, but I still carry them. Great little outfit. And if you want to go to the other end of the spectrum, a little Daiwa mini spin. That rod's about 40 years old. I throw that little bitty CC cotton cordell wee shad on it. I've caught some bass on this thing in the 3 pound range, a little ultralight. Got 4 pound line on it. Awesome little rig. But I carry it, play with it once in a while. I love it. And this, while I'm just here handy, this is my rod. This rod is dedicated to this lure, period. Bomber Deep Flat A. It's got this is a Shimano Chronarch 200 E6, 6.5 to 1. The others I've got are 5.5 to 1s. It's awesome. The rod is a Cashin crankbait rod, Cashin Icon. 7 foot, moderate fast, medium heavy, 10 to 17 pound line. I've got 12 on here. Ryan, when he was still working up at North Georgia, I went in there one day and I said, I need a kind of a medium light, 7 foot long crankbait rod. What you got? So he brought this one and another one over to me, and I tried them out and I bought this one. And I absolutely love it. I got a real good deal on it, which made it even sweeter. But again, a Cashin Icon. I don't know if the guys up there still got them or not, but I love this freaking rod. And that little lure has caught over 100 bass over 5 pounds on it. I think the biggest one was 9.2, 9.3, something like that. It's caught some donkeys. Okay, we'll get into something else now. I still tune into the live well. I try to catch it every now and then. I don't watch it as often as I used to because, I mean, I know they got to do what's popular, but most of it's all geared towards Lake Lanier and forward-facing sonar, and neither one of those things interests me in the least. But anyway, they did a show on spinnerbaits the other night, and somebody messaged me and told me that, you know, say, hey man, they're doing, you know, your name came up on the spinnerbait show, and somebody made the statement that they would not touch the kind of spinnerbaits that I use, which I don't understand because I've caught over 400 bass over 5 pounds on these things, and not just bass. I've caught walleye. I caught a 16 pound hybrid on one. I've caught big stripers, big largemouth, big spots, pike, pickerel, crappie, catfish, about everything that swims I have caught on those big spinnerbaits. And the thing, and it's not so much about the size of the spinnerbait as it is the weights. Because a lot of these guys swear they won't use anything heavier than 3/4 ounce or an ounce or stuff like that. Well, I also hear a lot of guys complain that they don't catch fish on spinnerbaits. And come to find out the ones they're using weigh 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, half ounce, something like that. Well, I mean, if the fish are 5 or 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet deep, and you're throwing a little spinnerbait that ain't going to get down with about a foot or two, well, yeah, you're not going to catch a lot of fish on it unless the fish are real shallow. So by using a heavy spinnerbait, it's the same mindset as a crankbait. You know, if you're wanting to fish for fish that are 10 feet deep, you don't throw a little 1- square bill. You throw a crankbait that'll dive deeper. So by that logic, throw a spinnerbait that gets deeper. How does it get deeper? It's heavier. You know, I don't understand why the mind block against these things. But like I say, you wouldn't use a spinnerbait. Those little bitty light baby spinnerbaits, I call them. They're right so high in the water column that unless you're fishing in dirt shallow water or the fish are just unbelievably active, they're not going to come get it. I mean, this little tiny thing here, this a little bitty tiny thing. I mean, you can look at it compared to the size of my hand. All right, this little tiny thing weighs 1.25 ounces. I mean, that's the reason this whole mini-me thing came about, is this hidden weight spinnerbait that's heavier and gets deeper and catches more fish. Well, why don't you transfer that logic over to a bigger spinnerbait? Bigger and heavier, that will catch bigger fish. That's how this was born to me. 2¼ ounces. That's a number 8 Colorado. That's a number 5. Got a big gnarly trailer hook on it. 2¼ ounces. I can fish this thing 15 feet deep if I want to all day long. Not a problem. And you just get it closer to the fish and you catch bigger fish. But I went to a new tackle store yesterday that opened up in Adairsville. The heaviest spinnerbait I saw in that store, I don't know if it was 1 ounce or 3/4, but that was it. And people just freak out behind this thing. And it just doesn't make any sense. The first year I went heavy with this big spinnerbait, I caught 59 fish over 5 pounds on this thing. Just because I was getting it deeper. I mean, last year I was fishing at 15 feet deep out on the road bed and just waxing them. Whereas if you threw a little spinnerbait that weighed 1/4 ounce over the top of that thing, nothing's going to happen. Because you're going to be fishing up here and the fish is 12, 14 feet deeper. I don't understand it. But anyway. And also they had a biologist on there the other day. And he said some things. I love the guy. Just for the one thing he said. He talked about how bad boat flipping was for a bass. You bounce them off the carpet, you wipe off their slime coat. Trout guys know better. They know not to handle the fish with dry hands. But so why would you take a bass and dump him on a dry carpet and knock his slime coat off? That's just stupid. It's irresponsible and it's stupid. And he talked about fish mortality, how high it could be, and how it's probably even higher than we think it is. And a lot of it's because of crap like that. You know, use a friggin' net, man. You know, it just pisses me off to see people do that. And in organizations like BASS, hell, they promote it. You know, they won't let the guys use a net. That's just a bunch of bullshit. Anyway, and that's why I hate BASS. I canceled my membership with them 30-something years ago, and they can kiss my ass. Anyway, boy, I got wound up. And also, the guy was on there the other day, and he was talking about GoPros and how they overheat. And I found that to be a problem in the very beginning when I was using. I've got a GoPro Hero 7 Black. And I found them bad to overheat, but I was running the internal battery off of them. Now I have switched over to the power stick, this YOLO power stick, like this. You plug it into a light socket, and then you can run your GoPro off of your cranking battery. But you plug it into where your stern light or your bow light. In my case, I just ran a whole other outlet and put it to the end of my rod locker because I just didn't feel good about having a $300 camera on the back of the boat hanging on top of the stern light. I just couldn't deal with that. So I made me one right here. But I don't have the overheat problem anymore. I also made kind of a little bitty umbrella for it, a little shade thing. I took a piece of cardboard, wrapped it in tin foil, put a little Velcro sticker on top of the camera and on top of the thing, and I put it on top of that on the same day, and it keeps the camera in the shade. And I haven't had an overheat problem since I started doing that a couple of years ago. So that's just something else to think about. But anyway, I covered the little setups, covered the baits, did my little spiel on boat flipping and the spinnerbaits. So, but like I said, you know, why people are so scared is they'll throw a big old swim bait, you know, they'll throw a big old glide bait, you know, a big glide bait like that. But then you say something to them about a spinnerbait, and it's not so much the size as it is the weight. You know, you start talking over 1 ounce, and they just lose their minds. I don't get it, but I mean the proof's in the catching. I think I've got, just since I started going GoPro about 3 years ago, I've got 40, almost 50 bass over 5 pounds on video. on that big spinnerbait. And you know, I hadn't been using GoPro all that long. I think I started about 2020, so that's like 4 years ago. And so that's, you know, all those on video. You know, people are missing out. You know, let me get one. I'm gonna show my big heavy spinnerbait setup. All right, this is my big heavy spinnerbait setup. St. Croix, Mojo Bass. It's upside down. MJ C7 10 HF, 7 foot 10 inches, heavy power, fast action, 14 to 30 pound line. I've got 65 pound braid on it, up to a 4 ounce lure. Again, 65 pound braid. I'm switching to the P-line Endurex because it's supposed not to fade. Old 5500C, 40-year-old reel, 2 1/4 ounce spinnerbait. This one's a tandem willow. Got a number 7 willow leaf blade. Got a little number 4, number 5 red kicker blade. But that's the rod I throw my big heavy spinnerbait on. I throw a bunch of other stuff on it too, but it's mainly this. I use it for some different swim baits. It's my Glurk rod too. I've got a bunch of stuff I throw on this thing. If I throw a big musky jitterbug, I throw it on that. But anyway, that's the setup for the big spinnerbaits, which for some reason everybody was scared of. Some guy in Mississippi, he got bold. I had found some extra ones, and he bought 5 from me. So good on him. And I've given a couple away. I gave Jonathan Farmer one first. I think it was the first podcast I was ever on up there at the Live Well back in 2021. I gave him one. I gave one to my mailman. But anyway, like I said, I'm beginning to kind of run low. I can't get the heads anymore. I can get a 1 ounce head and put a clamp on weight on it, but I just wouldn't feel good about selling that to anybody. It's functional. I mean, I've been using it. It's functional as can be. The weight, you get the weight you want. It just looks kind of tacky, but I can't get the weight head I need with the wire size I need. If I go up to 1.5 ounces at some of these commercial places, they want to go up to 051 wire. I don't like 051. I want 045. That's where I draw the line. So anyway, I'll go edit all this out, put it together, post it on my Facebook page. I guess that's it. Piece of la chique.